Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 Origin Continent based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng continued using the poverty-style comprehension method first. He comprehended fragments like a scale, a tendon, a piece of flesh, a droplet of blood, and other scattered materials, integrating the secret patterns observed from these fragments into the most perfect form in his mind. Then he compared it with the primordial bloodline. This cave mansion constructed by the lords nourished the soul and physical body, allowing Luo Feng's mental processing speed to reach a 1,000-fold level compared to the dark sacred realm. Additionally, by taking some treasures, he could easily achieve a 10,000-fold mental speed. Under the 10,000-fold mental speed, coupled with a realm much higher than before, even meticulous comprehension allowed him to fully understand 100 types of low-level primordial bloodlines within one era. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of primordial bloodlines, Luo Feng comprehended more and more primordial bloodlines. Finally, one day, the bloodline mysteries I integrated are more perfect than these primordial bloodlines. Luo Feng found himself attempting to improve upon what he realized had begun to surpass the original structure of those low-level primordial bloodlines. Naturally nurtured ones aren't necessarily the best. These are, after all, low-level primordial lives, and there are still some flaws with them. The mysteries of this low-level primordial bloodline have too many flaws. I've discovered dozens of them. Over time, Luo Feng went from only finding one or two flaws at the beginning to discovering dozens of flaws later on. Sometimes, with just a glance, Luo Feng could spot numerous flaws in the low-level primordial bloodlines. Flaws made them weak. Made them only at early stage of Divine Emperor, or middle stage of Divine Emperor, strength among low-level primordial lives. Too many flaws. Still, high-level primordial bloodline is interesting. It's much more exquisite. After finally researching all the low-level primordial bloodlines, when he began to study high-level primordial bloodlines, Luo Feng felt a jolt of spirit. The mysteries of high-level primordial bloodlines revealed many new insights that he had never thought of, broadening his horizons. Luo Feng seemed like a devout student, time and again learning many new mysteries of life and destruction during the secret pattern comparison. During this cultivation process, Luo Feng was mostly enthusiastic. Even if he occasionally felt tired, he would return to his hometown source world to relax with family and friends before continuing his comprehension and cultivation. Infinite Primordial Space, Jade River World Group. This world group, with the most core Jade River Sacred Realm, was completely shattered, like an egg being eaten more than halfway through, leaving only some remains, some scraps still floating in the infinite primordial space. This vast world group contained billions of worlds and numerous source worlds. Many of the billions of worlds have already been breached, and the life within naturally became extinct. As for the source worlds, many source worlds have already been completely destroyed. Life became completely extinct, with the source world entering a new cycle. This was still considered good. Many source worlds had completely disappeared, devoured to the point of nothing left. 7 terrifying figures stood within the vast infinite primordial space. Standing there, they naturally attracted the attention of many forces within the infinite primordial space. Each of them possessed the highest level of power, and understood the essence of this power. Each of them had a seat in the land of eternity, and when the 7 of them joined forces, they became a terrifying force that caused all sides to change color. The primordial ancestors temporarily retreated. Their 7 faces did not look good. They joined forces with 75 primordial ancestors to deal with the 7 of us. A creature with deep cyan skin stood there, sighed softly. Even when we joined forces, we were at a disadvantage. We could only watch helplessly, as the innate primordial life army attacked the source worlds and countless worlds. The deep cyan-skinned creature shook its head and sighed. The primordial ancestors constrained us, relying on their massive army to attack recklessly. Their massive army, with numbers incalculable, left us helpless. In this battle, we saw no hope at all. It was a sure loss. Nai-Ji-Yu, shut up. The silver-scaled Lord Jin, with 12 pointed horns on his head and a long scaled tail, roared in anger, to swallow up the world groups of our cultivator territory. Their primordial ancestors must be ready to fight with their lives. In this war so far, we've also taken down 3 primordial ancestors. I want to see how many more they are willing to lose. I agree with Jin. A tall, thin man wearing a black cloak smiled slightly. After all, wars cause losses. Losing some source worlds, losing billions of worlds. In the future, infinite primordial space will still nurture new source worlds, and we can also create billions of new worlds. We need not care about losses. We must let the entire infinite primordial space know that daring to provoke our cultivator camp will incur a terrible price. We must come up with an idea. Yuan frowned. Just watching them conquer world groups one after another isn't a solution. Every world group has cost us endless efforts. For each world group that has been managed for many long years, the lords have invested much effort. There are arrangements in every source world. Every ordinary world must be created, and creatures must be propagated. Time-space transmission network, alert network, excavated resources everywhere. Starlight, do you have any idea? The largest built Wulan looked at a middle-aged man. Starlight Lord, having forms from young child to elderly, because he had reincarnated in too many source worlds, had a variety of appearances and races. In terms of methods, Starlight undoubtedly had the most among the 7 lords. The innate primordial life camp, the primordial ancestors have very diverse personalities, and many contradictions among themselves. Starlight Lord said, this time, they got 80% of the primordial ancestors to participate, a total of 93 ancestors in the battle. We've killed 3 so far. Among the remaining 90 ancestors, they often take turns during battles. The severely injured ones withdraw to recuperate, while other lords step up. Is there a way to kill another primordial ancestor? Wulan asked. Immediately, the other 5 lords also turned their gaze towards Starlight. Starlight, an avatar, is constantly walking in different timelines of the future, always observing the entire infinite primordial space. He is the observer and recorder of the past, present, and future of the infinite primordial space. Fighting with us until now, the primordial ancestors have suffered many losses and gained much experience. Starlight gently shook his head. Relying on the 7 of us, it's already very difficult to kill another primordial ancestor. More than 70 primordial ancestors, targeting 7 lords, seem to have the upper hand. But the power of the lords cannot be stopped by sheer numbers. Unknowingly, they can make those primordial ancestors injured, and the injuries are quite troublesome. With enough accumulation, a primordial ancestor may even fall. I must also tell you, in this war, too many of our territories have fallen. The world-level primordial life in the innate primordial life camp, because they have consumed too much source world origin, should give birth to several new primordial ancestors, said the Starlight Lord. New primordial ancestors to be born again. The lords present were all quite troubled. Source world origin is the delicacy most craved by the innate primordial life camp. When the world-level primordials consume too much, there is a slight possibility of breaking through to become a primordial ancestor. Let's return to rest first, Yuan said. The primordial ancestors have temporarily retreated. Surely they will rest well and only attack again when fully recovered. We should also take this time to rest. The lords present all nodded. An individual primordial ancestor does not concern them. But the siege of over 70 primordial ancestors, all mastering the highest level power, makes each of the 7 lords suffer injuries. The primordial ancestors have replacements to conduct rounds of battle. But the 7 of them have no replacements. This also makes them somewhat mentally fatigued. Huff. The 7 of them returned together. They are not worried about sneak attacks from the innate primordial life camp. 1 or 2 primordial ancestors skilled in concealment might manage a sneak attack, but the power of over 70 primordial ancestors is diverse, making it impossible to conceal any movement. The lords can detect it in the first instance. With Starlight's mastery in spacetime, he would also intercept in advance. We have invested so many resources, yet no new lords have appeared. The tall, slender man in a black cloak gently shook his head. I have always felt that a lord cannot be created by throwing resources. There must be enough tempering. Giving too many resources is actually harmful. I agree with what Mo Man said. Only harsh tempering can produce strong ones. Giving too many resources. That results in a bunch of useless ones, the Golden Lord also said. There's no need to argue about how to cultivate cultivators, Yuan said. We'll establish a new cultivation method in the next era. Lord Mo Man and the Golden Lord said no more. By the way, recently, there's a fusion Dao cultivator named Luo Feng, Yuan said with a smile. His talent is quite good. Oh? Can he become a master of the source world without relying on bloodline? Wu Lan inquired. Yuan shook his head. He estimates that he still needs to refine the bloodline. Once he refines the bloodline, there's no hope, the woman in the golden robe said indifferently. There's no hope. Lord Naijiu nodded. I comprehend the primordial bloodline Dao, the bloodline will and pollution, so I can remain uninfluenced. Is this Luo Feng not cultivating the bloodline path? He follows the life and death Dao, Yuan nodded in acknowledgement. There's no hope, Naijiu shook his head. The other lords were also somewhat disappointed, except for the Starlight Lord, who had a hint of curiosity in his eyes. The past is set, the present is unfolding, and the future holds infinite possibilities. The Starlight Lord has numerous avatars in different future timelines. As reality changes, some future timelines will completely collapse and be extinguished, indicating that this future possibility has vanished entirely. They underestimated Luo Feng. The childlike Starlight Lord left some of the collapsed and extinguished timelines, walking through other future timelines. I have observed over 30 million possibilities for Luo Feng, and I have seen 9 possibilities of him becoming a lord. On the path of refining the world-level primordial bloodline, he becomes a world-level primordial. Subsequently, under the influence of will pollution and memory pollution, he abandons the original Dao and starts over. Forcibly comprehending the primordial life and death Dao, that Dao is filled with endless destruction and pollution. Even after refining the bloodline, he still becomes a lord. I have seen him succeed only this once. Using the power-breaking technique, I saw him succeed 8 times. Starlight Lord's eyes were full of expectation. Among the 237 world-level primordials in the cultivator camp, in future timelines, there is occasionally a possibility of them becoming lords. The future may happen, just as it may not happen. Over 30 million times, being able to succeed 9 times. The potential is very high. He is currently the highest among the younger generation. The Starlight Lord had hopeful anticipation. The land of origin, the peak of the mountain on Primordial Island. Luo Feng sat at the edge of the cliff, a wine jug beside him, the eye of life and death opened at his brow. He could clearly see the lives of those invincible creatures on Primordial Island and gaze over most of the land of origin. Peaceful, harmonious, Luo Feng remarked, gazing at the land of origin, could even be considered absolutely safe. The land of origin was the treasured place nurtured by the infinite primordial space, further refined and fortified by multiple lords. Later, the Starlight Lord relocated it to this special space-time, making it impossible for even many primordial ancestors to find it. But in stark contrast, the entire cultivated territory is under full assault. I've heard another world group has fallen, the Jade River World Group. The news of world group collapses is difficult to ascertain for the cultivators inside the braided cage. But in the land of origin, the fall of every world group quickly spreads among the world-level primordial, high-level primordial beings. After all, every world group requires a substantial guard of high-level primordial life forms. The death of their avatars in battle makes the news impossible to conceal. Cultivator territory once reached up to 3,600 world groups. Luo Feng was aware this was only nominal control. Some fringe areas have always been attacked by the innate primordial life camp. Areas like the Dark World Group are core regions and considered rather safe. But the world groups on the fringe areas have been continuously falling. Now, 2,922 world groups remain. Even though, during this process, the cultivator camp has counter-killed 3 primordial ancestors, numerous world-level primordials, and countless high-level primordials, Luo Feng pondered, the situation is clear. The innate primordial life camp fights with reckless abandon, no fear of losses, and the depth of their foundation is robust. World group collapses are going to increase. Lord Yuan also said the worst outcome is all territories falling. Luo Feng understood. The 7 lords had no way to reverse the situation. After all, their opponent's overall strength was immense. As Luo Feng had heard, even though the innate primordial life camp was vast, this war saw only a majority of their forces unified. Some forces, some primordial ancestors, were unwilling to join the battle. Would my homeland source world fall too? For the first time, during closed-door cultivation in the land of origin, just after emerging, Luo Feng learned of the Jade River World Group's fall. Of course, his mood was not good. He worried about his homeland, his close relatives and friends. There were too many innocent and weak within the human clan of his homeland. If a world group fell and the source world was destroyed, all creatures would perish. Even if there were migration plans, moving from the homeland source world to the distant land of origin was a long journey. The land of origin, being only so large, offered only so many spots for migration. The birth of new world-level primordials is meaningless for the war between the 2 camps. Only the birth of lords can influence the situation, Luo Feng thought. To become a lord. His first closed-door cultivation had provided Luo Feng significant gains. But compared to a lord, he remained incredibly distant. This time in closed-door cultivation was the longest yet, consuming over 3.7 million epochs of time. Among them, comprehending over 56.03 million low-level primordial bloodlines, cost Luo Feng about 900,000 epochs. Comprehending over 320,000 high-level primordial bloodlines, consumed over 2.8 million epochs. Accumulated, over 3.7 million epochs. Due to the cave mansion for fusion Dao cultivators, time inside the quiet room accelerated up to 1,000,000-fold, so the outside world had only experienced a little over 3 epochs. Although time outside had barely passed, Luo Feng's spirit was a bit weary, so he emerged to take in the scenery of the land of origin. The Starlight Lord spent staggeringly long years breaking laws with force. What does my little cultivation time count as? Luo Feng, knowing the Jade River World Group's fall, felt only a burning fighting spirit. Luo Feng rose, returning to the quiet room of the cave mansion once more. Inside the quiet room of the cave mansion, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, the sky-splitting saber embedded in the ground beside him. The observation capability of the land of origin allowed the mysteries within the sky-splitting saber to be reflected over 80%. These reflected mysteries were fully displayed within the quiet room. I can understand parts of the sky-splitting saber's mysteries. My current accumulation is 10 to 100 times stronger than before I was drawn in. Luo Feng realized his progress, as he had been comprehending the primordial bloodlines involving life, destruction, and life and death combined. The accumulation in life and destruction naturally improved significantly. Even the mind consciousness system, having comprehended over 32,000 high-level primordial bloodlines, thousands of which contained the mind consciousness system, Luo Feng's system dramatically enriched, undergoing a qualitative transformation. Spiritual will. Compared to before being drawn in, it was at least 10 times stronger. Though his physical body and soul had not broken out of the braided cage, merely regarding spiritual will, he was already top tier among high-level primordials. Most crucially, I've newly comprehended the primordial power system. This was, in Luo Feng's own view, the greatest gain from his first closed-door cultivation. Within infinite primordial space, everything and all creatures ultimately originated from primordial force. The primordial force is the soil of everything. Through comprehending a vast amount of low-level and high-level primordial bloodlines, Luo Feng gradually grasped their commonality. The origin of these lives was the primordial force. Without primordial force, all life would perish. If I am to pursue the largest and strongest life form, the primordial power system is an indispensable part. The primordial power system was already under construction by Luo Feng. Even the weakest low-level primordial life could absorb primordial force. The primordial power system Luo Feng constructed was continuously becoming enriched. Now, let's begin comprehending world-level primordial bloodlines. Luo Feng started filtering. Among more than 30,000 world-level primordial bloodlines, 2,729 featured life, destruction, and life and death combined. The usual method, poverty-style insight. Luo Feng chose a type of world-level primordial bloodline, first to comprehend the corresponding 12 materials, which are items like azure scales, fangs, and blood. The materials of world-level primordial life are indeed much harder to comprehend. Luo Feng encountered numerous confusions as soon as he began to contemplate, but he was patient, carefully pondering, and resolved some confusions. In the blink of an eye, a long 500,000 epochs had passed. Luo Feng stared blankly at these materials before him. I simply can't comprehend it, let alone complete the secret patterns. Luo Feng was already in despair. During these 500,000 epochs, he had tried everything, but the secret patterns of these materials had so many confusions that completely blocked him. Don't understand. Too much was not understood. Even with 100 times more time, Luo Feng had no confidence in solving half of the confusions. Can't waste time. Luo Feng frowned. According to his cultivation plan, a world-level primordial bloodline was merely a small step in the grand scheme. He couldn't just be stuck on this step. I need to slightly adapt my method of comprehending the world-level primordial bloodline. Start with the easy ones first. I'll first select from the 2,729 kinds of world-level primordial bloodlines, which are more compatible with me. Luo Feng was too confident before. After all, for low-level primordial bloodlines, high-level primordial bloodlines, any that encompass life, destruction, and life and death, he comprehended them all thoroughly. So when he was comprehending world-level primordial bloodlines, he also attempted to conquer them all. But the first one thoroughly blocked him. He woke up to reality. The corpse materials of these primordial bloodlines, at a glance, there are 73 kinds more compatible with me. Luo Feng took a rough look. These were the ones he could understand 30 to 40% just by looking. Clearly, they fit well with him and should be more aligned with his path. Let's begin. Luo Feng chose the most compatible one, named Star Sea Demon Lord, the corpse material of a world-level primordial life. This time it was relatively smooth. In less than 100,000 epochs, Luo Feng had a thorough understanding of these corpse materials and completed the secret pattern. He also compared it with the primordial bloodline. Very smoothly, Luo Feng comprehended more than 70% of this world-level primordial bloodline Star Sea Demon Lord. The primordial bloodline of the Star Sea Demon Lord, the profundity of life and destruction occupies 75%, and I have almost comprehended it all. Luo Feng smiled. He finally comprehended one type of world-level primordial bloodline. At least, with the primordial bloodline of the Star Sea Demon Lord, he is confident in immediately becoming a world-level primordial. And because it is relying on comprehending the bloodline to break through, spending some time to reach the world-level primordial perfection state isn't a difficult matter. But what I pursue is to break laws with force. Luo Feng began to comprehend the second type of world-level primordial bloodline. Since Luo Feng is starting with the easy ones first, comprehending the most compatible, the difficulty gets higher, and the time spent longer as he goes further. From these 73 world-level primordial bloodlines that are more compatible with me, I've comprehended 15 types. The second time Luo Feng went into seclusion had already approached 10 million epochs, having tried all those compatible ones. But only 15 of them were comprehended over 70%. However, even if cultivators refine bloodlines, to reduce the will pollution and memory pollution within, the fewer bloodlines refined, the better, and the higher the proportion of bloodline comprehension, the better. Therefore, even if Luo Feng walks the path of bloodlines, it's best to choose only one bloodline. Although Luo Feng theoretically could refine 15 types of world-level primordial bloodlines into his body, making his strength at the world-level primordial level extremely strong, the vast will pollution and memory pollution would completely distort his path. Want to comprehend the primordial level Tao? The hope is nearly extinguished. The land of origin. Yuan sat alone by the lake, fishing. Luo Feng has comprehended the 15th world-level primordial bloodline. Information automatically reported. The land of origin pays great attention to Primordial Island, noting every UN-liberated junior's cultivation state. When Luo Feng is pondering the mysteries of primordial bloodlines in the quiet room, every bit of his progress is recorded. Comprehending over 70% of high-level primordial bloodlines is not worth reporting. But comprehending over 70% of world-level primordial bloodlines would warrant a report. 15 types now. Yuan continued fishing without much concern. Most fusion Dao cultivators, when refining bloodlines to become world-level primordial, can comprehend several types of primordial bloodlines. Approximately one-third of fusion Dao cultivators can achieve comprehension of over a dozen world-level primordial bloodlines. Luo Feng's actual seclusion time is 12 million epochs, relatively short time spent. But merely comprehending 15 types is not a lot. Yuan remained calm. He didn't even express any surprise. Luo Feng's progress still falls far too short of becoming a lord. This video will end here.